Oh yeah, that's the feeling.
And so I'm praying about 3 nights where you and I would get together and talk to you about it. And
Hey, Di, good to see you.
And a move to lead people to Christ, and actually even use technology to show what's happening in those homes by posting them live on the screen for everyone else to see. So bringing in different people, what's going on, prayer and baptism and salvation, healing, whatever it is. But we're working on that right now. I have to work out the logistics on that. But when you talk about,
sounds good.
You like that? I was thinking I figured you'd go along with anything that's going to further the kingdom. You'll do it.
Absolutely.
So Mike, let's talk about this. Let's talk about also this atmospheric river that's happened and hit California and Washington State, Oregon, and all that. This is outside.
Aren't levees getting broken in Texas? Does Texas have levees? There's a few places in America where the levees are bursting, and it's not New Orleans.
The norm. I mean, this is the worst rain season in Los Angeles in 54 years, and San Francisco's been hit, and Seattle's been hit. I mean, what's going on out there?
Can I?
Hey, Andrew, good to see you, mate.
Yes.
The world didn't tell anybody it was coming. Though you had myself, right, and some other folks, they were saying, "Hey, you better get ready for water," right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
The Christian community had the information, right? And, maybe not all the details and all the this and the other, but we had the information, and nobody did a thing. They caught them off guard, and it's not finished, right? It's actually that's only the first step. Due to conditions of the earth, this is going to continue and increase. It's going to increase. So everybody should everybody should really look at this and get themselves prepared for lots of water. I mean, lots of water. To the point where they need to know the topology of where they live. Right?
I'm on the coast, but I live behind, like, our shore's got a big cliff. So I'm like 100 feet above sea level.
Wow.
So they,
at least,
how to get out of, if they live in a valley, they need to know exit points.
Hey, baby, good to see you, mate.
For fires also. But the water is going to be unbelievable.
So
unbelievable.
This is not just rare occurrences that's going to hit here and there. This is a pattern that's coming. And it's going to be in more places than just where we're seeing it.
That's right. And the East Coast is, the West Coast is being exposed to all this moisture. It has eaten away underneath the homes, right? It's gone. Yeah. So any type of rain that falls there, you're going to have these, the top of the land is going to start to shift. On the East Coast, we have a different problem. We're going to have sinkholes that are unrivaled, right? Just places will fall into the ocean itself.
What?
He said this a few times, and yesterday we watched a video with the sinkholes, so he was spot on.
And so everybody has to prepare for this. The Gulf, around the Gulf of America, Texas, all those places, they have to really get ready. They have to get ready. Florida since Florida's already saturated, right?
Yeah, Andrew, we nearly got you, mate. We nearly got you. Still, we did win.
In Florida, it's good for people to know the area they're in, so that if that water rises, which it will through a couple of storms, they can, make adjustments. But because Florida is so flat, right? Yeah. Water just goes right over top of Florida and back out to sea. But it gets caught inland when you're dealing with the East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
Texas, on the other hand, they're going to be saturated.
Wow.
I mean, they're going to be saturated.
Is it because water's coming in off the Gulf of Mexico?
Yep, that water is going to be warm, right? And due to the jet stream is extremely unstable. In fact, it will begin to loop. Imagine the jet stream. You know how it goes? It comes from the West Coast, goes down, goes back up through the East Coast, and goes out. Imagine if it
Get them in the schools, Di. That's what they're doing.
loops on the East Coast. And when I say loop, I mean the jet stream will go back to the Great Lakes and then back down again. So it'll go in from the West Coast down towards Texas, back up again, out on the East Coast, but loop back to the Great Lakes and then go back down.
Yeah, and then come back.
Yeah, giant swirls. That's going to cause some real havoc. Some havoc.
It's going to mess if the jet streams change that drastically. It's going to also create different storms than what people are used to, tornadoes. I mean, it's going to mess up the entire,
Yeah, we're not going to be the same because some of the areas that are green and plush in the temperate forest regions on the East Coast will turn to arid regions in a very short time. In fact, that's what happened during the Dust Bowls.
Okay.
A reversal of the jet stream.
But that was a dry, but that didn't bring rain. That brought dry, right?
Hey, Phil, good to see you, mate.
Right? Because the
Hope you had a good Christmas with your daughter. Sister or daughter?
But my
sister, wasn't it?
Jet stream reversed during that time. But since we have higher density in the upper atmospheres, right, to the point where it's affecting everything, all aircraft and everything else, they're going to have to start flying at lower altitudes. They're not going to make it up high. The stresses will be too high. Right? It's a lot of force, there's a lot of force on an aircraft, which could break it to pieces. So with a different density in the atmosphere, we're going to see lots and lots and lots of rain. It's also quite warm out there, and the temperature will continually go up, which means that we're having worldwide temperatures go up, which means...
Guys, for those who haven't seen this Paul Begley before, this Mike around the world, generally what he says happens. Like if he says, for argument's sake, keep an eye on Texas for water, and then it'll get a big flash flood or something like that, or watch for sinkholes and there'll be sinkholes. So that's why we follow this. We don't follow Paul so much because he's always chasing money, but Mike's pretty legit.
The atmosphere is going to be able to hold more and more and more moisture, right? It's the same principle when you have
sisters and daughters. Oh, that would have been a good day, Phil.
Vents inside your attic or in your basement.
Oh, and grandkids. How many grandkids you got?
You have that condensation factor. In this case, the atmosphere is going to hold, probably about 70% more moisture than the year prior to it.
Wow.
And it will drop that moisture, so it'll pick it up and drop it. Right? Now we know this is coming. This has started from the sun because the chemistry on the sun is different. There are 4 published papers. People will be able to get those papers and peer review those papers and read it for themselves. The chemistry of the sun is not what it used to be 2 years ago. It has changed rapidly. So we can expect something different, some different anomalies in the sun, which will further drive the weather here.
Andrew, they stopped David Icke from coming to Australia about a year ago. He went to come out here and they blocked his visa.
Causing the sun to make such radical changes like that.
The sun has been burning out. The sun is forever changing.
They blocked his visa, but they let in Muslim radicals from Palestine. Good thinking, Australian government.
Right, and it has cycles and long durational cycles and cycles we don't know about.
Okay.
But for example, a few days ago, or a couple of days ago, there was a cool spot on the sun that was the biggest anybody had ever seen.
Really?
I mean,
hey, Shawnee, good to see you.
Like a quarter of the sun was missing.
Yeah, Phil, I do remember. That wasn't that long ago, actually.
So that's due to a chemistry change, right?
Is that
it'll continue to do things like that?
Was that the atmosphere of the sun? There was a gaping hole there.
Well, it was cooler, which means some of the material was not burning as much in those dark spots. You've seen black spots on the sun, right? Through magnetic damping, and then it relieves pressure down below it, so it's not a lot of material.
That black spot in the sun, that wasn't like a black spot. That was like a huge tear. There's such a gaping hole.
down there is being pulled by magnetic forces to the left, right, up and bottom. In this case, imagine some type of pull or split in the sun that's a quarter the size of the sun.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That's what happened.
That's
You
huge.
have to go back and look at some of the imagery. It's unbelievable.
Shawnee, they're all tipping this year for everything to kick off. I think it's already kicked off. They just don't realise it yet.
Nobody ever saw that.
So that's going to affect
Right.
the earth. There's no other way around that.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course. And it will continue to happen. Every time that does happen, we have higher instances of UV and infrared and other things that will heat up our atmosphere. And if our atmosphere continues to heat, the hotter it gets, the more moisture it can hold.
Mm.
Then it just drops it inland.
Like bombs. Then we have
That's
those
what we're
rain
seeing.
bombs.
Atmospheric rivers. Yeah, you have a conveyor belt of water, essentially, right? From evaporation to condensation, which is rain, back on the land. And this will continue until it engulfs probably the entire northern and half the southern hemisphere. So everybody should get prepared for a lot of water. Of course, that causes mold, that causes mildew, right?
Yeah.
Some places will be saturated. It's going to make neighborhoods stink that are in low-lying valleys. So, but this is something the earth has gone through before. We just did not have all of what we have right now.
Yeah, we
But it's about to happen
didn't have
again.
as many people living in different
That's
places.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
This time, I think the shift is going to be a bit worse because the earth, we have something I'm coining a double wobble happening, right? We have the natural tilt of the earth, but the earth is experiencing the tilt is a bit more than what it used to be, right? And they're finding out that tilt is not constant. So it snaps and it tilts and comes right back. I believe that a lot of people were reading some type of report that began in the 1930s, I believe it was. From that point to 2010, the earth had tilted 31.5 inches, something like that. But they were attempting to explain how the water inside the earth is causing the earth to tilt. The truth is, they do not have a handle on what's causing the earth to tilt. Because if you take notice, they said it was China and the dam they had, right?
Okay. Yes.
Then a report came out and said that it was us pumping water, through various continents.
I don't think water can off balance the earth at all, because we had the flood and that wasn't off its axis as far as we know.
Places, just the water, pumping from one place to another. Then they said it was a combination of ocean salinity and melting. And they said some more things, but this was prophesied to happen in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It's prophesied to happen. If we look up and see the stars out of position, then the earth moved, right?
Absolutely.
They know for a fact through the rock strata and tracking how certain magnetic properties in the earth had swapped and changed. We've gone through this before violently. In fact, it wiped out a few civilizations, and we're about to go through it again.
So it's like cycles that you go through
Yes.
periodically, and God's got these cycles timed exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Based on prophecy, and so the people and the technology advancement, and everything, the earth is groaning.
Here you go.
If I'd only gone to quit.
When my dad died, I was left with practically nothing. I was so hurt and confused. So I spoke to Balboshev.
And all the movement of the armies and nations, all of this prophetically, God knew how that would work. And we're here. We have to understand how to deal with that in our role as a human being on this planet. And God put us here, and we've got to do
That's
our
right.
job, right?
That's right. For here, Pastor Paul, that means we can deal with circumstances and still walk with the Word of God. Is my point I'm making. No matter what happens in the world, because if there's one thing people have to be careful of, is not to make decisions by fear.
That's right.
right?
By faith.
That's a mistake. And if people are not careful, because people have made a lot of decisions by fear, but we need not do that anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So the conditions will change. They'll change.
Diane, they have got alternative places, like if the US was at full on war, there's places where they can go underground, as you know.
In the earth. And for those who are in the world who choose not to have a relationship with Christ, their world is going to fall apart. Not the believer.
6 point is the average for like earthquakes now, isn't it, Di? About 3 months ago, it was 3.4 and 4 points. Now it's up to the sixes.
Mm-hmm.
Not the believer's world. It's not going to fall apart.
No.
Their world will, right? Because things are changing in their world. Their stability is going to be lost.
So
Not ours.
that's right. So no matter what state we're in, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. So we need to know the Word of God and start quoting those scriptures and live. It's more than just quoting. It's more than just knowing about them.
You got to walk it.
You got to walk it, and the decisions you make each day are based on not the circumstance, but on what God's promise is.
That's right. That's right.
And we got to start teaching that. I guess I'm not going to teach that more. It isn't what you see; it's what you know and what you believe. You live your life based on the not the circumstance, but on the promises of the Word of God. The covenant you have with God.
No matter what you see, no matter what everything looks like.
Amen.
I do that a lot. I try to do that a lot. There was a time I did not.
Yeah.
I said, well, how's this going to happen? This looks awful. I'm not going in that direction. But, after my episode, if the Lord points me in a direction, I don't care what it looks like.
You're going.
And people would ask me, well, why would you ever do that? Who has that much faith? I said, well, in this case, it's about obedience.
Yeah.
The Lord's going to shift things the way he shifts it.
Yeah.
I guess people don't realize that think of this, Pastor, moment to moment. God is governing all things. If he knows the count of the hairs on our head, which, by the way, change every few seconds. Right?
Yeah.
Then if he knows the count of the hairs on our head, then he knows the placement of every single molecule in our body at any given time, right? And his angels.
He knitted us together. That's DNA. Where it says he knit us together, that's got to be DNA. The strand.
Working on a continuous basis. And his word has never failed.
Amen.
And it never will fail.
Amen.
But I think the problem is we get fixated on what we're afraid of.
Yep.
Like little mice, truth be told, like little mice, it happens. And if we're not thinking about the word of God, we'll act on fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we go astray.
Yep.
But if we walk by faith, simply by the word of God, what the Lord said, not what we said, but what he said, and we find ourselves being okay.
Amen. So, Mike, in this time we're in with the different wars, rumors of wars in different nations, talk to me a little bit about Zelensky and Ukraine. And they're coming, he's coming to meet with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago.
He's desperate.
It's a moment of desperation, isn't it?
He's desperate. He's actually offering up parts of the Ukraine, big chunks of the Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
In fact, he understands that without the support of the USA, he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
He's just not going to make it. And so he will eventually listen, right? And start to employ whatever he's instructed to employ. He's already agreed now to become a part of NATO.
Yeah.
Several things have happened. But will that sway Putin is the question. Now, I believe this. I believe that we're going to see this drag out moment, followed by a suddenness, right? Because China has started to do things they've not done before. They're starting to shift resources, and they're having too much communication between China and Putin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Believe me when I tell you the U.S. is quite aware of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Right? They're aware of it. It will still be some sort of confrontation, but President Trump is positioning the USA to stave off something before it begins.
Okay.
He's trying to stop something before it
Is
begins.
that in
And
Europe?
the only way to do that is to get in the way of it. That's in Venezuela.
Okay.
He has to get in the way of it. If he
Okay.
does not, Venezuela, think of Venezuela as a port, right?
Okay.
A troop port. If that's left unchecked, they go right up through Mexico and meet us on our southern borders, plural, right?
Very
we don't
quickly.
need them.
No.
Too many civilians would be involved. That would be a disaster, right? We already have to watch relations with Canada and the Middle East and really keep an eye on that. So he's trying to stave off positioning of these enemy forces. I think what people have, they don't realize this, but China and Russia had already made some sort of declaration during the time of Biden that they were going to take the USA. And indeed, they put their money where their mouth was. See, they shifted trillions of dollars to position themselves to be the global superpower.
Yeah. They're in that.
They have money. They have international money. People are signing on to it, right? Even right now, you have nations that have signed on to their new currency. That's not
Are
good.
you talking about the brick? The brick.
No. This is headed
a
from
new
China.
currency.
Yes.
Okay.
There's also another banking system, right?
Yeah.
You have the World Bank, and all those that are connected with the World Bank, they were seriously about to adopt China's proposals. We were really at a point of inflection big time, and everything could have shifted. So we have a person who is not ordinary, stuck in the White House, who has put a halt to quite a few things, whether you like him or not.
That's right.
Right? He put a halt to a few things.
Yeah.
He did.
So,
And so,
here's another guy. It says Putin's guy who knows his secrets just fell over dead yesterday. Another one of his generals that died on Christmas, who was, and they said he was the keeper of Putin's secrets. Is Putin, obviously he knows he has some people he can trust. He's got others he can't. At some point, he's got to get rid of people. I'm not saying that he had this guy killed, but it's happening a lot. It seems like it's happening way more than normal. Is it because there's spies in there, or has he been compromised, or is this part of the way to keep from being compromised?
you'll hear that. In fact, people have heard that for many years. That's just the way it is over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. That's the environment. Yeah, it's the environment they operate in. So it's all the time. Somebody's always trying to get them, right? That's just the way that is. Will someone succeed at a certain point? Who knows? But that's the way it is. You can't trust anybody.
Now,
If it gets
let's go.
there's going to be a regime change.
Right. Let's go back to.
Yeah, Shawnee, one of the reasons for this war, the borders that Russia's taken, it had more Russians living there than Ukrainians. And the Ukrainians used to get their rifles and that do militia on them and started terrorizing these places that Putin's fighting for. So they brought it on themselves. They really did.
Where you I'm sorry for jumping in there. When you were talking about Trump is cutting off access, or he can see that there's been some kind of agreement between China and Russia. And I think it happened just before the Olympics. Biden was in office. Those guys got together, and next thing you know,
That's right.
Russia went into Ukraine, and so in those 2 years before Trump could get back in office, there must have been a lot of assets moving around, not just militarily,
Wow.
but economically. Is that true? Gold and
Yeah. Yes. Remember, they had a meeting and they televised it for a little bit on Fox and CNN, I believe it was, and it showed all three of them. Right? It showed Kim Jong-un, Putin, and Xi. They were signing papers. They were together.
Yes.
Right? They started an initiative.
Diane, if the world goes socialist, which is what a one world government's going to do,
India signed on to it, right? That's why Trump had problems with India.
Yep.
And that's why it was such
That's
a
my
mess
point.
in the Middle East. And he stepped back in there, got in the way of the production of what they were doing. But the problem is you have nations in
Wow.
NATO. I would say they're not as loyal as they should be, right? So they're ready to jump off the ship if something goes wrong.
I think Turkey's one.
And and Germany, your period is nerve.
Ukraine also had, they had that lab in Wuhan, China. Ukraine had 6 of them labs in their country, and that's one of the reasons Putin went in there as well, because they're in control of the Americans. You can imagine that. So that's 6 virus centers they shut down.
They're nervous at what's happening because Putin is inching closer, and he's making bold moves. And I believe that they're placating Trump in a lot of ways.
Germany and France too. Would you say France?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In other words, he's behind. He's commanding the most powerful military, right?
Nah.
And they know that. And they know he has a lot of. He's very determined in his declaration, so they don't want to make him angry.
Right.
So they're just.
Yeah, Andrew. NATO is just a mafia organisation. That's all it is. We don't have NATO in Australia because we're not North Atlantic.
It's almost like they're putting up with him.
They're buying
for
time.
They're waiting for him to get out, to leave. And I know for a fact that there have been people in Washington who have, they were making promises that would happen. In fact, didn't Marco Rubio make a comment concerning that early in the, during this election process, that they were doing that very thing?
Yeah.
Trying to make promises to other nations. So he's not going to get in. We're going to stop him. We're going to do this and do that.
Yeah.
And, but it didn't turn out that way.
No. So let me ask you, they're buying time. They got 3, they know they got a little over 3 years to go, and he's bold, and he's making moves, and he's cramping their style. But they have no choice but to hang on and wait. So the next guy coming in is critical to the world order. Trump's got it locked in. He's got the technology, he's got the military, he's got the people behind him. He don't care. But the next guy, who is he? Is it J.D. Vance? Is it Marco Rubio? Is it Gavin Newsom or AOC? Is the world trying to position?
Is it one of the Trump kids?
Who wins that next election here in America?
No, of course they are. I think for the sake of prophecy.
Well, guys, we know there's not going to be another election. Trump told us that when he was running for presidency, as you remember.
Right.
Okay.
I think this is the moment because Trump is not against the church. Now, I hope people wake up. I hope they wake up.
Thank you.
Because if they start taking inventory in Washington, no one is going. Who else is going to safeguard the church? You have to be a radical outsider, right? Just speak, just like Trump speaks.
Right.
You do. You have to be a crazy person to speak like that, right? Because nobody else is going to put up with that type of stress. I believe that when this is over with Trump, that will have been the moment. The church will either take it or they're going to fold. But either way, it's up to the church to make their moves.
I agree.
And use this opportunity and do all of what they can do to really, because for a long time, the church has been.
Phil, Russia is closer to Christianity than America. They got a lot of rules in that bans homosexuals in public. And man, I agree with that. I know it sounds old fashioned and that, but I agree with that. Look what happened when they had free reign for the last 8 or 9 years. They just run amok with it. All the wokies just run amok to the point we're all sick to death of it.
Arguing one against the other, just like the people have been arguing.
So Russia has got a lot of Christian symbology in it. In the KGB, I think their motto is "in this sign conquer." I'm not sure though, but I think it's something like that.
arguing one against the other. And I hate to tell people, but the Holy Spirit does not argue. It
Yeah.
has one voice.
Yeah.
It has one truth, one word, not 6 or 7 or 9, and all these different. Even the Vatican told people stop praying to Mary, didn't he? He said it
He
before
did.
I did.
Yeah,
he said that.
He did. Yes, he did.
Who, the
So
Pope?
something is happening in the world. Something huge is happening in
Yeah.
the world. And I believe this is a moment where Christians are empowered. They may not know it, but
So should we talk to the Christians a little bit about don't take the Christian clickbait? I mean,
yes.
you notice how quick the people's like, hey, we're praying Trump in, we're voting Trump in, we're standing with him. And then he has to make a move sometimes that is contrary to what maybe we think he should do, or he says something that we probably
And they're ready to throw them away, right?
Yeah, and to do that, that's an unstable mind. Okay, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Yeah.
If you take that Christian clickbait that they throw out
Mhm.
here, stay the course. Get your hand on the plow. Stay with the man. He is fighting for Christianity. Don't take the bait. And I'm with you, Mike. When we get to the finish line and it's the next president going in, Christians have got to stay together and not splinter. And they're going to try to splinter us right now.
We don't charge them money, Paul. What happened there?
The Anthro 1 best-selling upgraded silicone dentures, no dentist required, tested by over 1,000 people.
You know,
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk, kill him, get him out of the way, maybe kill another one if they have to. Splinter the church. Is that part of the strategy of the devil?
Well, absolutely. You know, Satan is behind it. We know dark forces are behind it.
Yeah.
Did anyone see that Hunter Biden interview? I didn't see the whole lot, but it was done yesterday or the day before. He unloads on everyone. He throws Obama under the bus. He throws his dad under the bus. He throws everyone under the bus, and he confirms all the conspiracy theories that we've been claiming. He confirms it. So Hunter has turned on everyone, even his dad.
But these, you have people out there. Some people follow the flow, right?
Yeah.
They get sucked into a mob mentality.
Yeah.
I think it's important that all of us remember.
Amen, Shawnee. You don't
when
cost
Trump
money.
First started, I did not like him
No.
by way of his character, right?
Right.
But then I started to change. It was respect thing with me. I said, wait a minute, this guy is going in a different direction than all this, because I certainly didn't like the policies. But see, I know people who love the Lord, right? Some of your listeners, they love the Lord, but they
Sure.
curse too, but they won't tell you that. Right.
They're not gonna
Because they
tell
won't.
me. Right.
What people have been trained to do in life, period, is to know that they have crooked and corrupt ways, but cover it up and act holy anyway.
That's not good.
But
No.
God can see everything about us, even our thoughts, our concepts. Nothing is invisible to the Most High. If we can remember, wait a minute, I'm a sinner saved by grace.
Amen.
The only reason that I have salvation is because of Christ,
Amen.
not because of me. And the only reason I would be deemed holy is because of Christ,
Amen.
not because of anything I'm doing. It's
Right.
a gift of grace,
Amen.
is it not?
You're preaching.
So when people start evaluating Trump, they have to remember he didn't profess to be a seasoned Christian. And when we were not seasoned Christians, how many times did we slip? And it would have been nice
Right.
for me to know that somebody was praying for me. You know how much encouragement that would have been?
that helps.
But that's right. But because I had to fight the fight, right? I didn't know if anybody was doing anything. There's no way in the world I'm going to sit up and criticize anybody else like that. I'm not doing that. I certainly will not sit in that seat he's sitting in.
No.
He's sitting in that seat, and he has a heart for the church. That's not some accident. That's
No.
God's favor.
Thank you.
That's God's favor.
That's God's favor.
That's what that is, right?
Yeah.
So these people who do that, they have to look at themselves and remember something, because the Lord said this, and I'm going to paraphrase.
Yeah.
God said, if you criticize and you don't understand somebody's position when you criticize like that, you're harsh critic.
No, in regard to that link you just posted, Australia's a test case, as you remember. Thanks, babe. Australia's a test case, so they just banned the kids from getting into YouTube till they're 16, which sounds like a good thing, but that'll end up leading to none of us able to talk.
God will put you in their shoes so you understand why they do what they do. I don't want to be put in somebody else's shoes. No. I know the Lord's not playing. He's never been.
Harry and Megan are freaking out with the privacy laws. They want their privacy, and they've got a law about it.
Playing. He's quite truthful and serious about his word. But people have to overcome themselves first. Because in the end, we have to face the Lord. And it's not going to be about what everybody did to us. It's going to be about what we did to everybody else.
That's right. So,
everywhere's doing face recognition, but I haven't used it in technology so far. So far, I'm getting away with a savings card, like a little credit card.
That's why Jesus said, judge not, lest you be judged. And but with whatever judgment you give, that will you meet. In other words,
that's right.
Be careful. How about this? Walk around with mercy and grace. Give everybody that you meet, no matter what situation, give them a little love, give them a little grace, and then it'll come your way. I mean, that's how it works. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
Right.
Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy, obtain mercy. So
that's right.
You can go around judging everybody, but it's coming your way if you do that. And we're all going to fail. We're sinners saved by grace. You just quoted a few minutes ago. It's not in ourselves. It's a gift of God, not of works, as he mentioned both. So we can't do it. It's by him that we're saved. And we can't save ourselves. And
I know what that's like. I know what that's like. And I know he didn't profess to be a seasoned Christian.
No.
In fact, he told everybody, I'm trying.
He did.
He said, Graham may be mad at me on this one or something like that. Yeah. So he's letting people know that yes, he believes.
Yeah.
Right. But he's not following all the ways. He's going to lose his temper here, there. But that's what prayer's for.
Amen.
Even Pharaoh, Moses said, well, I can't go to Pharaoh. He's not going to let the people go when I tell him. God said, I know he won't, because I'm going to harden his heart.
Right.
And God did that for the sake of those in Egypt, so they could see his hand. So God's people could see God's hand, right? So if God can change the heart of Pharaoh to harden it so that his own people can see his majesty, then God can easily change the hearts of anybody in Washington. Anybody. He could change Nancy Pelosi, could jump out there and do favors for the church.
Woo!
He can do anything. It's up to us.
He can do it, but that's a tough
one.
It's
up to us.
Yeah, amen. Amen. It really is. It's up to us. That's why we need each other. That's why we got to lift each other in prayer. That's why we got to stay strong. Don't get double-minded. Don't lean to, don't fall over when something comes along. Don't believe everything you hear. And even if it's true, don't get double-minded. Stay the course. Stay strong.
That's when you fight even more.
That whole Epstein thing is going to be so much mud is going to get thrown every different direction. It's a sick situation, isn't it?
Pastor, do people really believe, just one thing, the people in this world who are programmed by the secular world, they're just like Satan, they're accusers. They look for faults to accuse somebody with, right? It's just like a person who may not have a relationship with Christ. A Christian may come and their life has changed, but no Christian should expect anybody to see them in their Christian form, to see the truth of them. They're only going to see you by what you used to do. So they come with accusation. We need not parrot those people, be like those people.
No.
And for me, I'm not going to sit up and call up everybody's, judge that person by who he used to be, right? I don't agree with Lucifer. Lucifer is the one that says he's guilty. That one's guilty. That one's guilty. Jesus didn't say that. No. God didn't say that. In our most sinful time, right? He commanded his love towards us in that he sent his only begotten son. Commanded his love. That means he's not going to withdraw it.
Amen.
And so at our worst time, he sent his only begotten son. He knew what we would do. And he gave us an opportunity, regardless of our filthiness. And he's calling us home. So I'm not going to turn my back on a fellow person and agree with Lucifer.
No.
I don't agree with Lucifer. Lucifer says
He's the accuser.
somebody should go to the pit. He wants people to go where he goes.
Yeah, he's going.
I don't agree with him. I don't agree with
He's
till I
the
can't
accuser.
say anymore.
He's
That's
the
right.
accuser of the brethren, it said. You know, I mean, he is the one that accuses. And you're right.
That's what he does.
He
I
knows
don't
his
agree with him.
destiny. His destiny is sealed. He knows it. And he
I think he wears the sunglasses for vanity because he's not. We've seen him without the glasses, not worried about the glare of the lights. He's allowed to like them for vanity, but I'm just making a point. That's what I think they are.
he's clinging. He's desperate. He's running out of time. And we've got all the. We got the ball in our court, and we're on the winning side here. Let's just run it all the way through. Let's just stay the course. God is on our side, and
And
let's
die.
not fall to the left or to the right. Lead not,
Die.
Don't fall off the boat now.
No.
Not now.
So now, Mike, let's talk for a second. Also, just a little bit. You touched on China. We probably should touch it a bit again because we're seeing.
I like the way Trump says China. China. When he does that, he's poking him in the eye. I love when he does that. China.
That North Korea is trying to get an advantage over South Korea. We see this happening. Do they have a chance to do that, or
Well, they got a nuclear sub now. Diane just showed us. I don't think South Korea's got nuclear subs.
they're just going to threaten with their bombs, or what's going on there?
Well, North Korea, in truth, has anybody who's been on the DMZ, been stationed to Quezon or any of those places, they have an understanding of what the dynamic is over there. The firepower, right? It's in South Korea. They have the firepower. But Kim Jong-un is one of those non-controllable people that's always going to make noise.
Right.
At the behest of China. He's going to do that because of China. When he starts making these noises, right? Because he is in cahoots with China,
Yes.
with Putin and all those guys. They support each other.
Right.
Didn't North Korea send 40,000 troops to Russia to help him with his Ukraine war? I know they did, but I'm not sure if the number's 40,000 or not. That's a lot of people if it is.
So, but South Korea is to be distracted when the missiles start flying.
Hmm.
They're to be distracted. They do have a capability to poison South Korea, period. But they will kill themselves in the process willingly, right?
Yeah.
So that's the wild card. These guys will actually kill every single citizen they have to accomplish some weird, twisted goal like that. And of course, South Korea has been domesticated, so to speak. So their hearts are not like that. But North Korea is vicious. Kim Jong-un is vicious. He is vicious. I mean, vicious.
Yeah.
Diane, Paul's the before shot and no, that joke fell flat. Didn't work it out right. Sorry, guys.
There are things he does has not been televised. He is vicious, and it's almost like he has no remorse. And his, that whole family line.
He shot one of his generals with an aircraft carrier gun. I'm pretty sure he did.
They think differently. It's a different spirit with those folks.
I mean, he killed his uncle. When he got in power, he fed his uncle to a bunch of dogs. He poisoned his brother at that airport. And then what in the world does he do to the rest of the people? It's untelling,
Yeah, have you noticed you don't hear about his whole family, do you?
No.
You don't, because they're gone.
He killed them all.
It's a mandate that some die, right?
Yeah.
What kind of place is that? And so with their out, hopefully they never get anything that we can't stop, hopefully. But if they wanted to, they could poison South Korea, and South Korea is aware of this. there's a contingency for that, right? Because he has a large stockpile.
The joys of communism. North Korea's going starving. They got no food there, and they haven't had food there for years. They're always on starvation rations. That's the joys of socialism.
Of chemical weapons, chemical biological weapons.
He could use it
A
on South
large
Korea,
stockpile.
and he wouldn't care if
Yes.
it killed a third of his own.
No. And those are used, they can maximize that effect based upon the weather. And so every time, I watch weather patterns because Russia is the same way. So are factions in the Middle East. They are the same way. And I certainly do. I know Saudi Arabia jumped on board, but no, I don't trust them.
No, I know.
I do not trust them.
No.
And I know that, the Middle East is every day it seems it's starting to fracture. And only by God's grace is it held together. Right?
Iran.
So I know without Trump enforcing how he does, it would not hold together.
Now you got Iran and Israel. Once again, Israel's looking at Iran saying, here they go again. They're building, they're going for now ballistic missiles. Is Netanyahu saying, let's just let them build for a while and then we'll blow it up? Or is he talking to Trump? What do you think this means?
Well, President Trump made himself clear. He did. He made himself clear that if they start that again, that he's going to watch them and he will do something about it. What I see happening is this. Most of these countries are going to wait until he's out of office, right? Until somehow he's out of office.
Yeah.
Sad to say, the death threats have increased against President Trump and his administration big time.
Really?
Right? The crimes that people are committing behind politics are of a different nature now. They're just ruthless. In fact, even domestic crimes have turned weird. They're just weird. Lots of family members killing family members these days. And I suspect that has to do with the halt of fentanyl, right? And you have all these people who are addicted to fentanyl.
Wow.
And methamphetamines. They're trying to get a fix. So the crime rate as far as robberies and home invasions has gone through the roof again.
Yeah.
Right? People are starting to break in. And so it's happening. But against President Trump, you have a lot of people within this nation.
Guys, that Bondi slaughter where 14 Jews got slaughtered at Bondi? Albanese, our Prime Minister, he didn't show up for a week. The whole nation's screaming at him. They're signing petitions to get rid of him. His own side's turned on him. So we're going to get rid of, hopefully, the worst Prime Minister in Australia's history. He's just doing the playbook, but the rest of the guys don't know that.
Definitely do not like it. And it's going to get to the point, Pastor Paul, where they will begin to, well, some have already begun to act. And there's almost every week, I'd say about 3. There have been 3 attempts are put down per week.
The first 2, that's what I mean, Di. How many wives can you have?
Kill him.
Stopped.
To stop.
Yeah, they're trying to get him. Now they don't, they're not going to, of course, blast that all over the news, but you can find it in the ticker sometimes. But there's always some sort of an attempt to get him. And we know as that increases, it's going to get dicey.
No.
That's why some of those cabinet members, their families, live on military bases now.
Yeah, they have. They've moved into, and all of these guys. I mean, whether it be Pete Hegseth or Marco Rubio or
It's
JD
a
Vance.
de-patriot towards those guys.
So do you think when we start to look at it, you got JD Vance, maybe you got Donnie Jr., maybe you got Eric Trump, maybe it's Marco Rubio, maybe there's DeSantis, maybe. But ultimately, when it starts to...
Diane, you remember when Trump started doing the tariffs? One of his sons got up and said, if you think the tariffs are bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. And they got taken down like 20 minutes later, but you already shared it. So, yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
They start to see it shaping up. If the one that they think could go in, do you think that they would come under a serious target unless it's someone they think they can sway later. Do you see that? There's got to be a lot of strategies going right now.
Yeah. There's going to be a reconsolidation of some things in Washington, right? I seriously doubt the government, as we know it right now, will remain. I seriously doubt that.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
Yep.
My ex can't stop stalking me since I started using this Power App stimulator. In just 6 weeks, I went from this to this. And now I go on dates with younger, better looking women at least twice a week. The crazy part?
Now, when you say the nation will remain, but the government as we see it now, you seriously doubt it will not remain.
No, that whole dynamic is going to change.
Soon as
I
Trump
can
is out
almost
of
see, I can see something coming, right? Well, first of all, you see the corporate world. They have a foothold in Washington now, right?
They do.
And so you're going to find a lot of corporate leaders in Washington. And pretty soon, we're going to see an entire change of how government is run. We're not going to see a Republican or Democratic Party. Right?
That doesn't really need explanation, to be honest.
We're going to see that. We're going to see something different.
Just a government.
Yeah, we'll see something different. There'll be a lot of agencies that will no longer exist. There's going to be a brand new military type of unit or a department of the armed services. A brand new department will be formed. It will have a very specific task. We're going to see a lot of changes.
Wow.
Because unfortunately, when you transition, when you're trying to clean something up, right? You'll find that some things are so deeply embedded that the only way to really change them is to get rid of them. Now, where that goes, we don't know. But
God called that the flood.
the writing is on the wall. Now, this is what I don't like to remind people about this, but with all these changes and policy empowerments, we know someone will come forward.
Right.
If that person is not on the side of Christ, then we know what that means.
That's not
Right?
good.
We know exactly what that means. Because a person can literally come forward and destroy the entire earth from the U.S. president's seat.
Mm-hmm.
Right? With all these, because of the policy empowerments. The policy empowerments, the consolidation of power, the changing of departments. Somebody could absolutely sit in the president's seat and bring this entire world to a screeching halt. Right? They could do that.
Wow.
They could do quite a few things. And we continue to see policy changes. And the way things work is for people will change things for good, right? But then almost always Satan will elect a person, possess a person to put in that seat of power. There is no way in the world that Satan is not going to make his move with all these empowerments going forward to pay back the church and to do maximum damage. He will at some point do that. And I believe we're starting to see the infant changes necessary to alter the entire government. It will change in a very short time. I believe that all of us will see it. All of us will see it.
We'll know for sure.
And it's inevitable.
Is that
and
why they
parts
want
of it is
Trump?
happening now.
They want Trump out of there. If they could get him out of here before the 4 years is up, it'd be great, is what they're thinking. They need him out. He's kind of a cog in the wheel of what they're trying to accomplish.
Well, they want to speak on behalf of their constituents, and everybody forgive me when I say this, but their people practice abominations that are abominations to the Most High.
Yeah.
And people in Washington, they're trying to elevate these abominations.
Yeah.
Instead of talking to the people with a sober mind, they're trying to
Wow.
amplify iniquity in these people's minds. And
Shawnee, that's because he was greedy. He wasn't happy with the money he made, so he gets a casino going and goes bankrupt. That's what he gets for being greedy. Mate, if I got $1 million, I'd be happy to live on that for the rest of my life. I don't need $10 million to live. I don't need $1 million either, but I'm just saying.
They're trying to get back in power because their constituents have been shoved to the side, right?
Yep.
They've been pushed out of the school systems. They're not allowed to have their, all the trillions of dollars is not going towards
Not flowing in that
media
direction.
to
That's
to
right.
to emphasize that stuff, and that's what they're angry at.
Mhm.
And to be honest with you, if you look up at who's murdering who, you're going to find your answer. A big percentage is coming from a very small community.
Mm,
And I hate to say that, but
I know, but it's true.
that's the way that
It's
is.
just the
Is he talking about Islam? I think he is.
way it
And
is.
so that's what they want. But what I'm talking about is this, Pascal, with President Trump, he's setting up a system so that they can't interfere with the productivity of this nation, right?
Yep.
So think of it this way. He's passing policies where he can, executive orders, where he can do this and he can do that. And he doesn't need, the whole lot of Democrats to back it before he can do it for the people. And he's giving power back to the people in different ways.
Yeah.
Now, he set up those policies. If somebody rotten were to come into the White House right now, they could bring the whole country down. Because he has signed executive orders that give him powers. Those powers are for responsible people. But if you get an irresponsible person up there who just hates the church and hates people and hates this, that, and the other,
Hates the country.
that individual could bring America down in a week's time with those powers.
It's a
They could
dangerous
lock
time.
down the whole of America. In fact, with some of those policies, what people saw with Jade Helm could be enacted in less than 3 days. So they have that mobilization power now
Wow.
to circumvent Congress for the Army to bring that power together within 3 days. And that makes, that gives you a moment of pause. I mean,
Right.
it's okay when you have somebody who has a heart for the people, right? But when you have somebody who does not have a heart for the people, you get a problem.
Yeah. So in other
It's gonna
words,
be a
he's
problem.
setting it up for if you have good, responsible leadership, then it's great because you keep the country going in a very positive direction. But if
Right.
the wrong, if the devil gets the seat, they can use that
Yeah.
same liberty and
There you go.
power to destroy.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since we live in the last days, right? Well, we all know what's likely to happen down the road.
Yeah. You
We all
know.
know. And so this is a time, this time that we have right now is a precious time.
I agree.
This is a precious time.
It's the reprieve, I think. This is our moment. And that's why I'm
I
saying
do believe it.
we got to take advantage of this time and bring as many, a great revival and a great move of God and get as many people to come to Christ as we can while we can.
Absolutely.
We're going to fight on no matter what, but you know what I'm saying? We've got a golden moment here. Let's take advantage of it and move forward. And so,
Bobo, I drank mid-strength of beer. I can't drink it. I don't drink beer for the taste. I drink it for the buzz. So there's no point drinking crappy beer because I can't even stomach it.
whew, yeah, that's you.
And mid-strength, I've never had a good middle week. I've never had a weak beer, but I had a few middles.
Got me praying more for President Trump and everybody else that's on his team now. I'm going to go back into the prayer closet and ask God to please help them and to take away all the threats and take away all the enemy and shield them by the grace of God and to the blood of Christ. So
We keep praying, right? Things are going to go forward. The Lord has given us this moment. Nobody can take it.
amen.
Nobody can take it.
Amen to that. Amen.
But God has his declared time. So when that other time comes close, we'll know it.
And Andrew, we don't drink Fosters. That's a Hollywood myth. We don't drink Fosters. We hate Fosters.
We just have to be careful not to deny it. But right now is a time of growth. This is for a growth spurt, like a last call. And there's no way, by the way, we can have a president whose name is Trump and nobody, that not be associated with a last call in the first place.
The last trump of God is going to sound. That's right. Mike, thank you so much for tonight. Really, you gave us a lot of words of wisdom, a lot of great insight and direction. And so we appreciate it greatly once again.
Pastor Paul, you're greatly appreciated. It's always an honor.
Honor's mine, Mike. Thank you so much. God bless.
All right. God bless.
Folks, he's right. We got a moment. We got a time. We've got an opportunity. The devil's going to try to bring division among us. Don't let him.
He's already done that.
No matter what, stay the course. Stay the course. Stay the
Amen.
course.
Amen.
Not put everybody in position, including us. Let's all stay the course. God is in control. But maybe you're watching right now and God is not in control of your life. Maybe he's not the Lord of your life. Christ is not your king. You believe in him, but you've not surrendered to him. Now, look, we've all sinned and come short of the glory of God. There's not one of us righteous, not one. But we're saved by grace.
Paul, finish off with a song. Diane's dying to hear. I should have started it a bit earlier. Do a song for Diane.
That grace is extended to us when we call upon his name.
He just went, yoip.
Discover a simple yet brilliant hack to cool down your home in 90 seconds.
It's the size of a small microwave.
And she's worth $100 million, of course, while also charging triple the price for Uno. And at this Christmas came early this year, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got so many things to get into in this video. Looks like billionaires stepping in it left and right, including millionaires. Millionaires in the case of Billie Eilish stepping in it, but we actually have a lot of billionaires as well.
Yeah, Bobo, Guinness, it's like drinking soup, isn't it? I'm not big on Guinness.
With, of course, this new drop.
Or stouts, as you put it.
Which we'll get into in a minute. Wanted to point out Billie Eilish being, of course, hypocritical. Check this out.
Oh, but there's a few people in here that have a lot more money than me. If you're a billionaire, why are you a billionaire? Give your money away, short.
Okay, if he's wearing the see-through glasses, that means he's going to do a song. I'll keep that in mind.
Please, love you guys. Thank you so much.
And guys, the truth is, I like Paul Begley's songs. Not all of them, but some of them.
Capitalism sucks.
Not enough that I'd buy them or learn to play them, but I do like them.
Right, guys? Anyway, buy my new overpriced product made by Chinese slaves.
Nope. Okay, since Billie had to blast her music, let's give a bit of context. Billie Eilish has a net worth ranging between $50 and $100 million, and this scuffed ass Uno deck costs about 3 times more than the original. They are.
Of course, she made her own Uno deck. If you ever played that game, I used to love playing that game in the old days.
Yeah.
Actually, at Christmas time, 3 times the price.
We used to have a poker night, but our girls didn't know how to play poker, so we switched it to Uno, like $5 a hand.
For someone who's worth almost $100 million, obviously she's like, you billionaires need to give away all your money. And she's worth $100 million, of course, while also charging triple the price for Uno. And at the same exact time, she is profiting off those working in China. You obviously have a little bit of strangeness with regards to how our society's been. I've been thinking about that all this last couple days, how ridiculous things have gotten.
Okay, I'll do this one. This is who America, under Biden, this is who America supported. Check this out, guys. This is the guy fighting Putin. Oh man. That's disgusting. Seriously. Yeah, stop now, babe. I already did, mate. That's disgusting, isn't it? That's the boss of Ukraine. That's the president of Ukraine dancing around in a gay outfit with high heels, making all these sounds. What a sicko. And that's why I told the Russians, Christian, look what he's up against, the devil.
Say goodbye to expensive dentist visits forever. Introducing the all-new 6th Gen silicone dentures, co-developed with world-leading.
And she's worth 100 million, of course, while also charging triple the price for Uno, and at the same exact time, she is profiting off those working in China.
Shawnee, I've got a PlayStation 5, and I've got Red Dead Redemption 2, and in it, it's live. You can go into a bar in the West, and you sit there and play real poker. It's not for real money. It's for game money for the game. And you're playing legit people. And I'm pretty good at poker because I've played so many games of it. So I usually come away making a bit of money off it.
Yep, obviously have a little bit of strangeness with regards to how our society's been. I've been thinking about that all this last couple days, how ridiculous things have gotten in our country. Here you have a Serbian family going viral for the wrong reasons, not because they did anything wrong, but rather because everyone's mocking them for not having.
We just seen him as a comedian, as a clown. We just seen
him. A lot of food. That's how ridiculous our world has become. A video of a Serbian family celebrating the feast of St. Nicholas went viral on Instagram, but sadly it's because many Americans mock them for having simple food in humble circumstances, respecting their faith and resilience. Check this out. So
okay, just saying, that kid shouldn't have a T-shirt on saying I am. Just saying.
Sort of ridiculous. We have these billionaires getting away with literally evil right now. At Christmas, we have our president, for some reason, apologizing for making it. We'll get into that in a minute. It's really ridiculous what he said, unfortunately. And you have also these files that now have dropped accidentally. Apparently, thousands and thousands of extra files dropped that weren't supposed to be dropped. We also have people figuring out what's behind all the redacted black marks. Check this out.
Yeah, I just accidentally released 11,000 Jeffrey Epstein.
Diane, Zelensky done the voiceover to, I'm not sure if it was Winnie the Pooh or, yeah, I think he has, what's the other pig?
Files.
He done the voiceover for, Paddington Bear. It's either the one of them he done the voiceover for.
That they hadn't publicly put out yet,
Whoops.
But we got access to them. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to access them. Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail, and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files. And they got
this is pretty ridiculous.
Access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search.
Yeah, so they've done a lot of mistakes, which actually are in our benefit. Those who actually want to know what's been happening over on that island. They've seemingly have made numerous mistakes, making it very easy for us to see what actually is behind this redacted text, accidentally releasing extra files. Whoops. All for our favor, of course. You have here them saying that beforehand, before all these files were released, we did not uncover evidence that would predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Oh, there's no other people involved. It was just Jeffrey. It was just only him. The entire island was only for him alone, of course. This is what they were telling us. Absolutely asinine, of course.
Bobo, it's disappointing when you got crap beer. And that's what, when I went to Bali, they got crap beer. I didn't like their beer at all. Everyone loved it, but I didn't. So, yeah, if you can't have a beer, it sort of takes the edge off the fun, doesn't it?
And what's interesting about it is actually, look, what's in dump number 8, which, of course, they didn't want to give to us. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida, served GJ subpoenas. One in Boston, one in New York, one in Connecticut, were located and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. One is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. The team, 8 SAs, TFOs, 2 AUSAs, is flying out tonight, tomorrow to various locations in Florida to interview approximately 25 victims. I thought there was only Jeffrey. What's going on here? We got 10 more. 10 right here, co-conspirators. And they told us that they would have to release it all, but they haven't been releasing it all.
Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, Bobo, that'd help, wouldn't it? Having a shandy with crappy beer. Maybe it'll make the beer better.
Then why is there...
When I first started drinking when I was 1980-ish, women used to drink that.
Everything being redacted.
Shandy. The men would drink schooners and the women would drink shandies. Now they're just hardcore drink now.
Redacted. Except for, of course, Bill. He's the only one not redacted in the entire thing. It's just hilarious, obviously. Yeah, and of course, that's what our president came out and apologized for. Oh, we're so sorry that Bill was so highlighted in this. Why are you apologizing? He went there. You have numerous other people that you're not telling us about. Everyone should be embarrassed that we're there. Much more than that. They should be behind bars. It's not rocket science. This is, of course, I think God's sort of sense of humor in the aspect that they were trying to hide all this. And God's like, no, you're not going to hide any of this. I'm going to basically bring it out in the open, whether or not you want it to happen. Kind of amazing. Check this out.
Bill Clinton office demands full transparency for Epstein files. They made a statement. Bill Clinton's office did? What? Clinton's deputy chief of staff accused the DOJ of selective releases that imply wrongdoing while protecting others.
This is so insane. Okay, look, you obviously did wrongdoing there. It's not rocket science. And then also at the same time, you won't let anybody else be seen that were there. There's lots of people. We know of at least 10 already, according to that email. So it's super obvious that there's numerous people involved. And you're just holding back all the information. And then we find out this. This is what I was talking about. Apparently all the redacted, not all of it, but quite a bit of redacted stuff can actually be discovered as to what it really is. Check this out.
Oh, look at this pesky redaction. Let's just get rid of that.
So basically, all you do is copy the part that's blacked out in many cases, and you can see what the text was underneath it. Whoops. Oh, look, it didn't look like you redacted it properly.
Wow.
There. And of course, you weren't supposed to redact it in the first place. Perhaps this is their way of legally skirting it, saying, well, we did release everything. It's just we pretended like you couldn't see it. And actually, you can see it if you know how to look for it. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. I don't know what type of game they're playing here. Or is it just they're incompetent and couldn't hide the information that they were trying to hide? I don't know which one it is. Either way, we get to learn new information about what was really behind all this redacted information. Not everything, of course. Some of it you just can't copy and paste like that, but some of it you can. So that's some good news. I mean, this whole entire world is completely and utterly insane. You now have Hunter, Biden over on Sean Ryan's show talking about that people that are benefiting are the people that are always some way avoid the consequences. Like you. For those who forgot, his son was pardoned. Biden's son was pardoned, erasing his federal crimes. What was really funny is he's calling out the files, and he's calling out how
Diane, he'd love that they're calling him God. Trump would really love that. Like, we'd be horrified if someone meant that about us, but he'd right up his tree. He'd love that.
Someone's getting away with this. It's hilarious. Like, what the hell? I guess they're expecting us to just have super low IQ and not be able to see through all this. Just like everybody lying left and right, everybody covering everything up, including our president. It's insane. Can you stop lying to us? Stop pretending like we're dumb. We see through all of this. It's just disgusting, honestly. I don't know what you guys think about all this. I guess technically there is some good news in the aspect that they screwed up so badly that we get to see the information anyways, right? At least some of it. But the fact is we really need this entire thing to be out in the open and these people be prosecuted for us to move forward as a country and obviously get rid of all this corruption. At any rate, I think you get kind of the idea. There is some good news, believe it or not, other than the fact they screwed up so badly. You had this lady, you remember that lady at Target who was being harassed for wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt, a red Charlie Kirk shirt? Check this out. Apparently she was at the AmFest and people donated $250,000 to her. Check this out. Let me play this.
The mighty Red Hot Summer Tour is back and rocking in 2026 with another superstar lineup.
Is your recruitment agency suffering from a shift billing bug, running candidates, locked pay flows? It doesn't have to.
What the hell happened here? Where's the volume?
Name on it because he's a racist.
Oh, I had the sound down for copyright. Okay, got it.
She claimed, which of course he's not one. But you see how harassed for wearing a Charlie Kirk shirt, a red Charlie Kirk shirt. Check this out. Apparently she was at the AmFest and people donated $250,000 to her. Check this out. Let me play this.
I get a lot of ads, don't I, Di? I should be getting paid for this. Okay, I don't know what he's giving away here.
First, this woman was accused of wearing a racist shirt because it had Charlie Kirk's name on it. No joke. Some liberal Karen came up to her in Target, was harassing her, saying she's not allowed to wear this shirt while working at Target that says Charlie Kirk's name on it because he's a racist, she claimed, which of course he's not one. But you see how ridiculously bad the propaganda is in our world these days that they even think
he's looking more like a sacrifice every day, Charlie Kirk. If you look behind it, it's very suspicious.
Charlie was a racist. That's how bad it is.
Benny, I hope you don't mind, but I brought a special guest to come celebrate Amfest with us.
Not Santa. We're going to see Santa.
Oh, you mean America's target grandmother? Grandma Jeannie is in the
house, of course. Obviously, right here, patrons have donated $260,000 to her since the incident where she defended Charlie's name from being harassed at work and standing on stage at TPUSA's biggest event of the year, Amfest, of course. What's interesting, I don't know if she lost her job, but it sounds like she might have because they donated $250,000 to her. I'm guessing that didn't help her out with that lady and it going viral online. You know how things work with this world. At any rate, also apparently someone decided to make an ornament of me, which it doesn't perfectly look like me, but it doesn't look a little bit like me, I guess. God, of course, rules. I guess I'm known for saying "of course" all the time. It's not because I intentionally.
No, I've seen that necklace thing on Charlie. That's what got me curious straight off the bat. But then I find out that they're all members of the Ninth Circle. That's something like the Templars or something like that. So they're part of the Ninth Circle. That's why I reckon he was a sacrifice.
Do that. I intentionally do it, but it's not something I do in regular
I reckon the Queen was a sacrifice too.
life. I do it because of this website I'm on right now. I'm curing the lost ways. By the way, you can check it out right there. Link below. How to live without electricity. Of course, also food supply. You go check that out as well. It's just funny, you know.
Hey, you boy. Merry Christmas.
He also talks about prophetic things and what's going on with our world and it actually getting better eventually. Believe it or not, God will somehow miraculously fix this. Yeah, I have to say miracle twice because it's so bad. It is terrible how bad things have gotten. Although we are seeing some people come out of the woodwork for God, for Jesus. I noticed some people in the comment section do not believe it fully. You have Kevin Costner coming out with a Jesus special, literally about his birth. And, but it is interesting. A lot of people just don't believe him. They don't believe these things. They don't believe when Disney talked about his birth. They don't believe that either. They think
I like Kevin Costner.
They're just doing it to get people to buy their stuff again, I think. You have here apparently even Chevrolet showing a little bit of positivity about the American nuclear family. Some people are talking about this as well.
Come on, careful.
Where's the dog?
I got my hands full here.
Willie!
Just old days, 1970s. I think it's 1980s in this case. Going to Christmas at grandma's, that kind of thing. I mean, we shouldn't be patted on the back for promoting normalcy. You know what I mean? Like, this is just normal.
No, we don't know grandma's grandpa.
Oh my goodness, you're not promoting the rainbow anymore. Oh no, they're doing the right thing finally. I mean, goodness gracious, you know what I mean? That's how bad things are. It's just terrible. We have also a number of other people being prosecuted. I thought this is fitting right here. This is something I didn't show that I should have showed in a previous video. You have here Thomas Massey talking about what happened to him. Check this out.
Also, I'm going to say this here on camera because it's important. One of Kash Patel's staff threatened my staff with a criminal investigation if we didn't straighten up and play ball.
I was going to ask you about that, but since you brought it up, and I didn't
I'm bringing it up.
Okay, you brought it up.
So think about this. So remember Tulsi, right? She was threatened for looking into foreign actors with regards to these files. Thomas Massey obviously has been pushing for transparency across the aisle, both left and right, with a guy from the left that's a representative as well. And they're trying to make sure these files get released properly. And what does Cash do? He tries to stop Tulsi from actually looking into, because she knows she's actually going to try to do it right. He tries to stop this guy as well, who's trying to make sure they're transparent. Cash is a effing joke, if you haven't already realized that.
And so, like a criminal investigation having nothing to do, he said it was going to be a fraud.
So basically, they're going to accuse him of fraud, one of his staff.
Investigate one of your staff for fraud. Right. And he told another one of my staff this. If you guys don't straighten up.
Yeah. That's insane, man. I mean, I'm not really surprised. Obviously, Cash has multiple skeletons in his closet that we are not aware of. Clearly, because he's 100% on board with this cover-up, isn't he? Apparently he is, claiming there was nobody involved other than Jeffrey, when we obviously all know that's a lie. And, of course, now still trying to cover it up, still not trying to release all the files, apparently screwing up. I don't know if maybe the people that are working on them are trying to release them but not release them, you know what I mean? Like they're told they can't release this stuff and redact it, but then they don't redact it correctly on purpose so that we can see it. And like, oh, shoot, I screwed up. Whoops. You know what I mean? Oh, whoops, we released extra files. Whoops. I mean, they're trying to release them and working inside, trying to make sure it gets out anyways. Maybe that's what's going on. Or maybe they're just completely incompetent. I don't know which one it is. Either way, it's good, because now we get to see what's really in these files, partially at least. And there's like a ton of other stories as well. Nicki Minaj is going totally viral. A lot of people are freaking out. They're trying to claim that she lost 10 million followers on Instagram. It's a fabricated story. Once again, like usual, millions of fabricated stories. If you go look around, you'll figure it out. Yeah, right here. Nicki Minaj lost 10 million followers on Instagram in 48 hours. Whoopsie. Readers added context. Nicki Minaj deactivated her Instagram account in October of this year prior to her recent Turning Point USA appearance. She didn't lose any 10 million followers because she didn't even have it open anymore. It was completely deactivated. So they're just like making stuff up. It's just kind of funny. Some people don't believe that Nicki Minaj has changed. I think she is changed. Although I think it's wrong to exalt her because she's simply doing the right thing. A lot of people are hating on her that are on the left, though. For some reason, they hate this picture. Apparently, she does look pretty there. It straight up looks nice. It's an interesting, she actually looks better. Some are saying she looks better than she used to ever since she started getting her life together and following God, following Jesus. So I don't know what to make of all this, my friends. I think our world is disgusting and evil, and it's becoming very obvious to us. Just look at what's going on around us. It's sad, but at least we know a lot of people are not on board with all this corruption. They're seeking the truth on the matter, and I have to hand it to CoffeeZilla for doing that. He's been around on YouTube for quite a while. And I think it's just, there's so much hypocrisy and evil in the world. We just need to focus on the good things for once, focus on your family, I guess. I'm not James Dobson here, but, focus on Christmas and the good you can do in your life for others, having an actual standard, unlike a lot of people in this world, as you can see around you, particularly some of the promoters and influencers I see on X and YouTube, particularly X. I don't know, man. There's a lot of people that just don't have any standards at all. It's really kind of disgusting. I'm going to get into more stuff. Actually, I'm going to get into a completely other topics on my other channel. I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. And thanks for watching.
Everyone says convenience is complicated.
Clever says bullshit.
Hang on, guys, I'm trying to find something else.
When my dad died, I was left with practically nothing. I was so hurt and confused. So I spoke to Val Boshev. They've seen it all before. Val Boshev sorted it out. Thanks, Val Boshev.
Get it sorted. Call Val Boshev Lawyers.
That's too long. Okay.
We have Jimmy Kimmel and Coca-Cola both stepping in it big time. We also have 3 bombshells, major ones, of course, from our president over Christmas. You ain't going to believe some of this. We're going to get into that as well. We also have a ton of other stuff, all the stuff going on around us, including sort of the fallout from AmFest. We also have sort of a post about apparently John 3:16 that's going viral over on X. We'll get into that at the end. Let's just start here. Let's start with Jimmy
How's
Kimmel.
that here? Good to see you.
Christmas message to the British public sparks outrage. He should have stayed fired. Apparently, he's being slammed as out of touch and a joke after him being a joke, after it was revealed that he would be delivering an alternative Christmas message about fascism to British audiences. The comedian is set to lecture Britons on the rise of authoritarianism, a Channel 4's version of the traditional.
Had a good Christmas. I was never here, but I can't wait to see the back end of this year. It's been a tough year for me.
Speech. Viewers in Britain and America alike hit out at the comedian for his anticipated rant against our president, expected omission of censorship, of course, happening in the UK for the last few months. Actually, it's been happening for years, but particularly because of the Online Safety Act that was passed, I think, like 2 or 3 months ago. He's going to whine about free speech and fascism, says GB News presenter.
It was just a tough year. I was never here. Like, a lot went on, which I didn't expect, or what you don't expect to happen.
Alex Armstrong. He won't be referring to our government, will he? It's all about Trump, deeply out of touch as usual. Of course, this is not really surprising considering Jimmy Kimmel. We know all about some of the stuff he puts on the show. Obviously, not exactly in touch with reality, much less what's going on in the news. Jimmy Kimmel, my country's president, would like to shut me up because I don't adore him in the way he likes to be adored. We won. The president lost. And you know, I'm back on the air every night, giving the most powerful politician on earth a right.
I'll save him for tomorrow, guys.
Welcome to the program today. Mono Gonzalez here in studio with our good friend Josh Peck, and we're going to be talking about the calendar. And here's the question for you is, how close are we? Has there been changes in the calendar? What do we know? When is going to be the end of the age? Stick around and find out.
Psalm 19 tells us the heavens declare the glory of God. Introducing the 2026 Psalm 19 calendar.
Yeah, I was never here. It was just a bad year all around, wasn't it?
Now with new, never before seen it.
And TVs blow up, modems blow up, power go out for days, new modems, new laptops, health. We got 2 health attacks. It was just a real terrible year.
Images from the Prophecy Watchers Observatory. Each month features a vivid glimpse into God's magnificent universe, paired with inspiring scripture that lifts your spirit all year long. Order your copies today and share the beauty of God's amazing universe.
Well, Josh, here we are. Welcome.
Thank you, Mondo. Good to be back.
And
there's nowhere where Andrew can go in the UK to escape the Muslims. They run the show now. They own all the mayors, or they are the mayors.
Forgotten Prophecies of the Dead Sea Scrolls, you have a 2-volume set, which I want to get into today because there's some interesting timing as it relates to the year 2025. It's been, certainly people have talked about it going a long way back. Even, the late Tom Horn, he's been here with you, and we've done interviews. But your new set here, Unlocking the Final Jubilee of the Church Age, Essene History and the Prophetic Calendar, as well as Lost Festivals and the Prophetic Timeline. To me, I want to discuss this because as we are transitioning here, 2025 is almost over. And so let's jump in for a minute. These two works, maybe kind of give us an overview, if you don't mind, about why you wrote them, the research you did, how you organized them.
It's 6 hours old.
And kind of the importance.
So for those not familiar, Dead Sea Scrolls were written and kept by the Essenes. They contain every book of the Bible except for Esther, but that could be because it was just degraded, or we don't know the reason for that. But there's also some extra biblical text in there too, such as Jubilees, Enoch, things like that. Well, within all of those texts, we find this amazing calendar, and it's actually prophetic in nature. So this was the calendar, according to the Essenes, that God gave to Adam.
I was never here. It's going to be the Catholics and Islam. They're going to call it Chrislam. And that's who's going to persecute. It's Chrislam. Because the Catholics and Islam have got a lot in common, a real lot in common. Because,
on when the sun and moon and stars were created on that day of creation. So they actually start their day of creation on Wednesday. They start their week on Wednesday because of that, their first day of the year. So the prophetic thing about this is not only was this a yearly calendar, but it was a calendar throughout all of human history. So they said that the Essenes believed that the entire calendar human historical time period would model after our 7-day week. So they believed 7,000 years from the time they got their calendar till the time of after the millennium. And then they believed in that last 1,000 years would be the Sabbath, the millennial reign of Christ, as we would call it. Ancient church fathers taught this too. But before the millennium, there would be 3 ages. Each age is 2,000 years. First age was the age of creation. That was from their year 0 to 2000. That ended with right after the Tower of Babel and the Call of Abraham. Then that entered into the age of Torah, another 2,000 years. That ended with right around the destruction of the temple, a couple years after that. And then it was the age of grace, which we're in now. And they actually called it that. The amazing thing, though, is they believed that would be around 2,000 years. And we're coming up on the last 50 years of that. And that's called a Jubilee. So we're coming up to, starting in March of 2026, we will be entering into, according to the Essenes, the final Jubilee, the final 50 years of the Age of Grace.
Yeah, to me, I find it fascinating where if you think about today, what calendar, you go back to the Julian calendar by Julius Caesar, you look at the Gregorian calendar that was created not very long ago and maybe centuries ago. And so you think, well, what does God think about all this? Because we when you think about the days of the week that we have, you might have Sunday, the sun, moon day, Monday, and you have all these other days that are in reference to these false gods. They have pagan names, and there are months certainly have pagan names. And you think when you go to Israel today, they just say, oh, hey, I'll see you on the 4th day. I'll see you on the 5th day. They don't use the modern pagan names the way we do. It's just 1, 2, 3. But talk about how we understand the connection between the Essene calendar. Again, even the confusion that you might have. So we have the Julian calendar, we have the Gregorian calendar, we have the modern Hebrew calendar, the Jewish calendar in Israel, and then you have the Essene calendar. So I mean, that's like, well, okay, how do we wrap our heads around this? Kind of give us some background.
Sure. Well, they even had this back during the time of Christ. There was 2 calendars being used. So national Israel used the Pharisee calendar, which was a lunar calendar. And when you look into the Book of Jubilees, the basic story of that, and other areas too, but the basic story of what happened was at some point, and in Jubilees it's prophesied that this was going to be a future event. At some point, there was going to be some kind of corruption within Israel, and Israel would start following pagan types of things. And they would abandon the original calendar and go for a pagan lunar calendar. Well, we can pretty much very confidently pinpoint that to the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, and during that whole time, what it seems like what happened was when he invaded, or when all that stuff happened, and desecration of the temple, and during all that time, it seems like the deal was, okay, Israel, you can still do some of your Jewish things, but you have to adopt our lunar calendar. And then there was a split. Some of Israel, mainly, national Israel, what became national Israel at the time, they said, okay, we'll do that. We'll take that deal. But there was another group that said, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. God commanded us to go buy this calendar. If we do it wrong, our temple stuff's not going to work. We're going to have priests die and all of this stuff. So they broke off, and they eventually became, there was other splits and other things that happened too. I'm condensing a lot of history down to something really short, but they eventually became what are known as the Essenes, or the people that were in Qumran, and they were doing all their stuff over there and keeping to the original solar calendar. And what's amazing is we weren't able to piece that together until just a few years ago, at least not all of it, until just a few years ago, but now we have it complete. We have the total thing. We can actually follow it today. So a good friend of mine, Dr. Ken Johnson, he actually pulled all this together and developed this online calendar. And so he and I talked, and I said, hey, what if we came together and made a print version of this so people could have it at home? And that's exactly what we did. So this is the print calendar. And the way that this works, it's different than our normal Gregorian calendar. So their year actually begins in mid-March, their new year. So March 18th, according to this calendar, and this is the way it works, so people can see that, we have on top the actual Essene calendar with all of their dates. And then on the bottom is our normal Gregorian calendar with, there's St. Patrick's Day there, all our normal like American holidays. But we have all of their festivals and feasts. And we actually had 12 of them as opposed to the 7 that we find in Leviticus. And so you can actually use this calendar, and I've done that in Forgotten Prophecies of the Dead Sea Scrolls. I went through everything, like from Genesis to Revelation, to show you can use this calendar for all of it, and it fits perfectly. You can find feast days in Revelation that you might not have known was there. One example that I really like, and I give a lot to show how cool this is in Revelation when it talks about the 2 witnesses being killed, and then people are celebrating in the streets, and they're giving gifts. And I understand the celebration, but I never understood the gift-giving thing. Like, I'm old enough to remember when Osama bin Laden was killed, and everybody celebrated, but it wasn't Christmas. We didn't, give gifts to each other. Do
you know what I was never here? Joe doesn't copyright. Joe Rogan, he doesn't copyright. So I really like that when someone does that.
Find out when you map it out on this calendar, that happens during Purim, which is a Jewish celebration where they do celebrate in the streets and they do give gifts. So that's just one of those little things that you can use this calendar to find out. But there's lots of prophetic stuff in there that I put in the book and that you can find in this calendar.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty fascinating when you think about all the different things that God cares about. You go back to Exodus chapter 12 at the beginning of Passover.
Wow, that's crazy. I was never here. Wow.
And so right there, right out of the gate, God is 100% establishing this calendar system to Moses, which had probably been lost, living in Egypt and other things. But he's wanting them, as this new nation is going to be established. He wants them to follow his specific calendar. So to me, I find it very fascinating. We're going to take a little break here where you can see how to get our magazine, which again goes to 20,000 people per month. Josh writes for it. I write for it. Others. All the latest things that are happening in our world, covering prophetic trends. So
Cat, don't ruin the laptop.
At Prophecy Watchers, we believe that God has called us to be a voice in these last days, to warn you of things to come, to educate you on the study of Bible prophecy, and to boldly proclaim the soon return of Jesus. For your gift of just $50 or more, here's what we'd love to send you. 12 monthly issues of our 4-color magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, in your choice of print or digital, plus 5 bonus DVDs packed with eye-opening teachings from prophecy experts, including The Mystery of the Rapture, The Great Apostasy and the Revealing of the Antichrist, Holy Fire in Jerusalem, New Shocking Discoveries Surrounding the Shroud of Turin, The Stones Cry Out, The Archaeological Evidence for Jesus, The Mystery of the 10 Kings, Could these be the wealthy and influential oligarchs who control our world today? As an added bonus, we want to send you a one-of-a-kind prophetic treasure, a book that examines every prophecy in the entire Bible. Exploring Bible prophecy from Genesis to Revelation is the work of two prophecy legends, Tim
That would be an interesting book.
LaHaye and Ed Heinzen. It's a book you'll find on the shelf of every prophecy expert. This 560-page masterpiece is our bonus gift to you. This $120 value can be yours for your gift of $50 with shipping included in the USA. Call us at the number on your screen or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. For our international friends, please note that additional shipping fees do apply and all prices listed are in US dollars. The signs are everywhere. The prophetic puzzle is almost complete, and yet so many are still asleep. That's why the Prophecy Watchers exists, to shine a light in the darkness.
I'm here, Bobo. I haven't gone anywhere.
And help believers understand the lateness of the hour. We believe Jesus is coming soon, and your support helps us take this urgent message to the ends of the earth.
Welcome back. We are talking to Josh Peck again about his 2-volume set, Forgotten Prophecies of the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as trying to understand what God has done.
I like Josh Peck and his Sea Scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls, but when I put him in the heading, I don't get many views, so not many people enjoy his stuff. It fascinates me. He goes into quantum physics and all that. So yeah, I like Josh Peck.
And with the calendar and understand the jubilees and different things. So you mentioned that earlier. I want to go back to that because, the calendar being set up in these 2,000 year, at least 2,000 ages, and then you have other sections. And then, of course, we know in the Bible, we talk about Jubilee every 50 years for those that read the Old Testament. But you mentioned that we're entering in 2025, this last 50-year period. And so that people are going to wonder, well, wait, what does that mean? Yeah. Do we have 50 years to wait? Because, so let's talk about that. And let's also talk about the last 2,000 year period. Yep.
Look how beautiful that is.
Introducing the Ultimate Glasses, a seamless extension of your vision that combines reading, computer, and sunglasses into one smart solution. Meet the revolutionary autofocus glasses equipped with breakthrough German optical.
Because the last 2,000 year period of the Torah ended in 2000, or it ended in 75 AD.
Cat, you're making a cat.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. And so, yeah, and I don't want people to freak out. I'm not saying that we have to wait 50 years for the rapture or for the return of Christ or anything like that. All it means is that by that time, by 2076, everything, if the Essene calendar is correct, if we're understanding it correctly, everything should be in place for the millennial kingdom to begin, for that age to begin. That doesn't mean that that's exactly when the return of Christ is going to happen or when the rapture is going to happen. The calendar doesn't give us dates on those things. But what it means is just everything should be in place. So it's a great thing to bring up the age of Torah because I think that gives us a really good model on how this might work. And I say might because and I go through it in the book, there's several different ways that this could work. But so the age of Torah, their final jubilee would have been between the years 20 on our calendar, 26 and 76 AD. And the final real major thing, there was a couple other events that happened after, but the real major thing that happened near the end was the destruction of the temple. So once that happened, a couple of years after that, a few years after that, the sacrificial system was officially done away with, and the Pharisees basically became, this is reducing it down a bit, but the Pharisees basically became like what we would consider like rabbi. It became rabbinic Judaism, what we would consider that today. So that switch happened. So we entered into the age of grace. Now that doesn't mean that people couldn't get saved before or anything like that, because and think about it like this: we would say that the church age began probably with the indwelling of the Holy Spirit. That's what most Christians would believe. Well, if we go based on the calendar, that happened right around 32, 33 AD, somewhere around there, somewhere in that range.
Early on in that final
Very
Jubilee.
early on. So that was only a few years after 26 AD. So the idea might be, it could be, and I'm not saying that this is exactly it, but Jesus fulfilled his earthly mission very early on in the final Jubilee of the Torah age, very, very early on. Is it possible that he might fulfill everything having to do with his return early on in the final year of our Jubilee? And that could be, but then you would wonder, well, wouldn't there be a big gap of time then between, when Jesus returns and the start of the millennium? And yeah, because it could be that he returns, what else needs to be done? We know that in the end of Ezekiel, there's this amazing temple, there's this amazing city. That's going to take time to build. And interestingly enough, Herod's temple, by all sources that I could find, it said it took about 40 years. So, and I don't believe that Jesus is going to come back, snap his fingers, and there's just going to be a city and temple there. I think it's actually going to have to be built. That could take time. So the idea is that once that, what would that be, 3076 date comes around, everything should be in place for the millennium to start, which means the city will already have to be there. The temple will already have to be there. That doesn't happen during the tribulation. There is a third temple. The fourth temple could be a cleansed version. It could be a destroyed and rebuilt version of the temple. But that city doesn't, as far as I can tell, does not get built during the tribulation. That's sometime after. So there could be a gap between the return of Jesus and the end of this final Jubilee. So again, I cannot emphasize enough, because I'm misunderstood on this all the time. I am not saying that we have to wait till 2076 for the rapture or for the return of Christ or anything. The calendar doesn't tell us that. The rapture could happen anytime, and the return of Christ could happen anytime 7 years from now, from any given moment. So it doesn't give us specific dates like that, but we do have this time frame to
He's saying we're in the first year of tribulation. That's what he just said then.
So that's just one of many ways that I present in the book on how all this can work out, where you can still have a pretty early rapture and tribulation in the Jubilee, in our final Jubilee, but still have to wait a few years till the millennium can actually finally begin.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty fascinating when you look at, again, the model of the pattern. To me, that's very helpful. One of the things that you talk about as well in the book, which is, it's fascinating when the Dead Sea Scrolls, were discovered in the late 40s and 50s. It opened up a whole new world. I remember taking a class in seminary on basically the Dead Sea Scrolls, and there's probably been nothing greater in the last couple centuries. And people say the greatest archaeological find ever has been the Dead Sea Scrolls, because of what it has opened up for biblical studies and just especially the Gospels, etc. And you have a chapter in the book on Dead Sea Scrolls and the New Testament as it relates to even some of the language that the Essenes used and other things. I mean, they loved Isaiah 40. They were out in the wilderness. I mean, it's just, to me, it's fascinating. How do the Dead Sea Scrolls contribute to understanding of the New Testament?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, most importantly, they don't.
Be careful watching them movies. They're doorways for the demons to enter. I know to you that sounds crazy, but to we Christians, we know it's true. So try not to watch them movies, mate.
Change anything. They don't change anything that we're told in the
I'll post a link here.
New Testament.
Or else you won't find it. It's buried really deep.
What they do, though, is they add a lot of context, which helps out a lot. So when we get language throughout the New Testament about like the end of the age, well, what do they mean by age? And it's interesting because they were nearing their end of the age of Torah, and the Essenes believed that, not necessarily the Sadducees or the Pharisees. The Essenes believed that. So the end of their age would be the end of the age of Torah, which was set to end roughly 50 years from that time. But then there's also end time prophecies that talk about the end of the age, meaning our age before the millennium. So
that's making a thing
out and figure out what's exactly being talked about. But there's a lot of language about the sons of light, the sons of darkness. That's all over the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's very Essene writing. And one of the biggest things, probably the biggest thing in this whole understanding of the Essenes versus, New Testament and how that informs us as Christians is that actually the Essene way, but when you look through the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I give several examples throughout the book, they were very much in line with what we would consider Christianity. This would have just been pre-Christ Christianity. And so, they didn't know everything. They still had to be taught some things. But it's very consistent with that. What's amazing is they had these prophecies. They knew the temple was going to be destroyed. They knew once Jesus was killed, resurrected, they knew it was time to leave. They left behind some of their texts that we were able to find, and I believe were preserved for our time because it's the last days. Even Enoch says that the book of Enoch says that text is for the people that are going to be living during that time, during the end days. And coincidentally enough, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered when Israel was becoming a nation again, right at that same time. But the amazing thing is,
and the first time a UFO hit the ground, same year, 47.
There's this mystery in academia.
That's important. Israel's founded in 47, and UFOs are crashing at Earth in 47. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Like, what happened to the Essenes? Where'd they go? Why'd they leave? And the idea mostly is that they just fled because of the temple stuff. But no, what happened was the Great Commission. Jesus told these new converts, mostly Essenes, go out and make disciples of all nations. And they did. We come from that. So we actually come from the Essenes, we as Christians. We're the benefactors of their amazing work and many times their sacrifice and their martyrdom. And to me, so we as Christians have this direct connection to the Dead Sea Scrolls. And again, I want to emphasize, I don't look at these as inspired scripture or anything. I look at it as history. But I don't look at it. I look at it as something that we can learn from, but it's not necessarily. It's in the same level as the Bible.
Yeah.
So if there ever were a contradiction, I haven't found one. But if there are,
I was never here. I saw The Exorcist when I was young as well, and back then, them sort of movies didn't exist. When she spins her head round, that was so horrifying. It doesn't get me scared now, but as a kid, that was really scary. Because I'm not scared of pain. I'm not scared of dying. I'm scared of souls, demons getting my souls. Even before I was Christian, I was worried about that.
Ever was one between the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Bible, we would go with the Bible. But anyway, so those are just a few of the things on how it connects with us as Christians today, the New Testament, and the whole thing.
Yeah, I find it extremely fascinating in the sense of how the Essenes have and the Dead Sea Scrolls have contributed to our understanding of the Gospels. The other interesting thing too is that the Essenes aren't specifically mentioned by name in the New Testament. We read about them in Josephus, which you're like, oh, who is this other group? I mean, Josephus has been around for a long time, but to see this other Essene group.
And this other movie come out in the early 80s called Evil Dead, and it was really scary. I've watched it in the last 12 months for old time's sake, and now it just looks silly. As far as they've come now, they just look silly back then.
That was out in the desert being written about, and people are going, yeah. And in many ways, there was some skepticism about that until the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And then you have, again, their literature and other things written to each other. I find it very fascinating. Well, we're going to take a little break here.
You watch my vid, did you? I was never here. Did you watch? Is that what you're talking about?
You can see how to get Josh's book and certainly the calendar as well. There's so much information.
Oh, cool.
It's something that we can't even fully touch in a short program. But take a listen.
A lot of people can't get it because it's got science in it, but that's how it is.
A divine miracle shook the archaeological world in 1947 when the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in the caves of Qumran. A young shepherd boy was throwing rocks into the caves when he heard the sound of breaking pottery. What he discovered would prove that the Bible we hold in our hands today.
It's so simple, isn't it? It's so simple. Yet, yeah, I'm glad you got it so much. I was never here.
Has not been changed over the last 2,000 years, giving us a new appreciation for the Jewish scribes and the Essenes, who painstakingly copied the scriptures for our benefit. Secreted away in these caves were scrolls that contained 38 of the Old Testament's 39 books. The most spectacular discovery was a well-preserved copy of the Isaiah scroll, which contained all 66 chapters of the book of Isaiah, an important book that highlights the qualification.
I was never here. Here's how they do it with me. They show me the kernel of something, and I've got to sit there and work out what I've seen. Like when I got soul creation, I seen me sitting in that bubble I started off with. I saw that and I thought, okay, what am I looking at? And it took me 3 months to get it all down, but I ended up getting it down.
Of the Jewish Messiah. Ironically, just 1 year later, Israel was regathered.
So he doesn't want dummies in heaven. He wants smart people. Oh, he gets the dummies into, I suppose.
In their ancient homeland, one of the great miracles of modern history. Working together with Ken Johnson, Josh crafted the Essene calendar, the original calendar that God gave to Adam. Over the centuries, this God-ordained calendar was corrupted by Jewish rabbis, with many believing there was a hidden agenda in play, a conspiracy to hide the prophetic qualifications of Jesus as the Jewish Messiah. The Essenes knew when the Messiah was scheduled to arrive. They knew he would be God in human flesh and that he'd be killed to take on the sins of the world. And shockingly, they seem to know the day when God's calendar comes to a close and the 1,000-year millennium begins. This unique, one-of-a-kind calendar can be yours for your gift of $25 or more, with shipping included in the USA. Call our toll-free number 24/7 or visit us online at prophecywatchers.tv. For our international friends, please note that additional shipping fees do apply and all prices listed are in US dollars. From Jubilee cycles to Shemitah cycles and a deep dive into the Jewish feast days, no stone is left unturned. Amazingly, the scrolls tell us that there weren't just 7 Jewish feast days, there were 12.
Okay, guys, Gary Wayne posted something a couple of days ago, the beginning of Time of Sorrows. I think we're already in Time of Sorrows, but let's see what he's got to say, because he's pretty smart, Gary. We all like him. Here we go.
And I often talk about the two that follow the chronological events of what Jesus talks about that comes in Matthew 24:32 and Mark 13:28 with the fig tree generation, that all of these signs and the chronology of events will happen before this generation passes. So there's a specific generation and it provides us kind of when to look for those signs. And I think that's probably when Israel, as we understand them, as visible Judah today, that has Jerusalem as their capital, as in their possession, because most end time prophecy centers around Jerusalem being in place and in the hands of what I would call visible Judah versus the lost tribes of the northern empire of Israel that will come about in the end time. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But that's sort of gives us that generation when these events will happen. And so it's kind of a lot about the when. And then that's immediately followed by the days of Noah, which tells us how it sort of comes about in terms of what it will be like. So kind of more like the what of this end time generation, where it's going to be like the days of Noah, just as we get those words of the days of Noah that are used in 1 Peter 3:20 and 2 Peter 2:5, when it's talking about what happened with the crimes before the flood and with the giants, and that we need to be aware of that as being the same time frame that is talked about in the days of Noah in Mark 13 and Mark 24, Luke 17 and Mark and Matthew 24, and as the days of Noah is described as it is described in Genesis 9:29, which was 600 years before the flood and 350 years after the flood. So we get that for context of what these signs that Jesus has provided before these passages of the days of Noah and the fig tree will be like. So it's important information for context. And the beginning of sorrows is the third one, and that is recorded in Mark 13:8 and Matthew 24:8. And it's very important we understand what these beginning of sorrows are and how they work fundamentally as an overarching sign that provides us not just how these calamities take place in terms of the timing and how we know the chronology is moving forward, but the term is so accurate in terms of the beginning of sorrows that I think you might be a little bit maybe surprised, but happy, I think, to learn after this show as to how consistent and accurate the Bible is with its signs and its markers. And the sorrows is a significant time marker for the time of Jesus' coming that's going to help us understand the chronology that he lays out clearly, but supports it 100%, just as all the other passages in the Bible set around what Jesus said support the same chronology. So place everything around what Jesus said, not vice versa, and things will start to crystallize just as the beginning of sorrows does.
Diane, that link says, sorry, you've been blocked.
And so the sorrows that are listed, just to cover them in Matthew 24 and Mark 13, are wars and rumors of wars. They are earthquakes. They are pestilent.
I saw the changeling. That was around I'm not sure, 83, 84.
And they are famine. And they all kind of work together as calamities coming together in terms of what's going to happen. And understanding how that rolls out and how they work together is deeply rooted within the timing.
Do I press it again? It says this site's blocked out. It says you're blocked out of it.
Of the definition
by
of
YouTube.
Sorrows. So we're going to dig into
Oh,
what
could
that
be
means
me.
and then back that up with other passages and provide you some context maybe that you haven't had or would have liked to have had more information on that you haven't received in the past. And that's kind of what the point is to get your curiosity up, to dig deeper and rely on what Jesus said and put all the passages around what Jesus said. So sorrows is the Greek word 5604, Odin, just as the god Odin is. And I think that's just coincidental. But it's also connected as well and used with another word that's 5605 as opposed to 5604, and that's Odino. So same series of words comes numerically after in the Strong's listings. And what the definition for sorrows is means that it is a pain or a throe, as in.
Yeah, that loaded, Diane. I was starting to worry whether I was locked out of there, but that one went through.
The pain of childbirth and or a sharp attack and or a violent spasm. And what we're going to learn is the application in prophetic allegory, as Jesus has set out as the defining key to look back on for greater understanding, is the pain of childbirth. And the definition in Strong's goes on to say that it's especially of childbirth. So although it has other meanings, and we have to make sure in the passages that we are looking to define the Greek words or the Hebrew words that we're applying the right meaning for that application, that narrative, that verse, and that it doesn't contradict with other passages in the Bible, and everything has to fit. So you have to be selective so that you don't manipulate scripture. Just let it flow. And of course, when it means especially in childbirth, you get a couple other terms that come into play, and that's travail and birth pangs. And so when I talk about the birth pangs, these are like the pains as a woman going into childbirth. And there's a consistency to that is understood that those pains will get stronger and they will quicken the closer that we get to the end time. So that as we start to see pestilences roll out today, we're going to see that get stronger and more dangerous until the time of the seal judgment.
Oh, it's over here. What's a fire stick?
And that's when we're going to see all of these.
Here you go. I'm a mechanic, and I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this new diagnostic tool called fix. I'm a little skeptical, so I order.
Sorrows working together, all of the birth pangs working together, just as we're starting to see them starting to shape up, and they'll all start be working together, and they'll be all happening sort of one after another at the same time as others, and it'll be just ever increasing like waves that are coming at us of destruction until we get 25% destruction,
No way.
33% destruction, and then the time of the wrath in the last 3.5 years that will come with a completed Armageddon, and would have been 100% destruction, except that Jesus steps in. So with that laid down as the concept and what we're talking about in terms of what these sorrows are, as in birth pangs, and getting that sort of clarified, understand then that these birth pangs work in conjunction with the fig tree generation and with the days of Noah. So more for the context of what's being talked about in terms of the rulers and the princes, and of this specific generation, and that all of these things will be fulfilled within that generation and completed throughout. And what will get confusing is as the birth pangs get stronger, people will say, this is the time of Armageddon, or this is the time of the wrath, or this is the time of the rapture. They'll get it wrong because they are the same calamities repeating over and over and over into a birthing that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So just again, so to lay the context down. And in the New Testament, we get support for what this prophetic allegory is so that we can understand it. So if we look at Acts 2:24, and we get the pains of death that Jesus went through. So again, we're not going to apply necessarily a birth pangs, but understand that birth pangs are also pains, right? So when we talked about that as a possible meaning, is it pain or is it pangs? And this is the sort of increasing pain that Jesus gets that's similar, but it's not the birth pain. But it is, as we look as sorrows being translated, it's translated as pain there. So as Odin, not as travail or not as sorrows, but as pain. So we understand that there's pain involved with that passage. And in 1 Thessalonians 5:3 and 5:9, we get some real prophetic context to this in the application as in sorrows. And in 1 Thessalonians 5:3, if you look it up, it essentially is talking about a time of peace and safety when destruction comes. And so we get a clear marker here that this is the time of Antichrist who comes to power after.
I was never here. I've been through it as well. And I chanted the Lord's Prayer and it left me. So I understand completely where you're coming from. Bobo, that's what you got to do, mate.
A false counterfeit Armageddon that, if you look chronologically, will happen in Revelation 20, before the midpoint of the last 7 years, and he takes credit for winning that war. So it's very close to the time of Antichrist promising peace and safety, because he takes credit for that war just as Jesus comes at Armageddon. So he has to have a counterfeit Armageddon, in that Antichrist takes power at the midpoint of the last 7 years. And then sudden destruction comes. That's going to be, a little bit into Antichrist's reign when the wrath comes, the bowls of wrath. And the bowls of wrath will bring 100% destruction. So it's a completion of the birth pangs. And it's a time that is talked about in Thessalonians 5:3 as a time when Jesus is coming. So we're getting a marker of consistent prophetic allegory that Jesus is going to be coming somewhere around the midpoint of the last 7 years. But as verse 9 says, before the wrath, before the days of the Lord that I've talked about in past episodes. And probably he'll be coming before the year of the Lord's favor, because Jesus is going to be directly involved with that. So we're talking about a period that's probably just shortly after the midpoint, but before the wrath bowls are actually poured out, that seem to start in the last year and maybe just before of the last 7 years. And so we get chronology there that's sort of built in. And we need to understand that, because it's
when Jesus comes, no one is going to escape the wrath and the pain that comes thereafter. Okay, so there's a sense of finality of that. And that people who don't escape are essentially the people in the last year of the last 7 years, because we still have people who are being executed, being beheaded for not taking the mark of the beast, for worshiping Antichrist, for worshiping Satan. And that begins in the last 3.5 years. And the woman is like in Thessalonians 5:3, is Trophi comes upon as a woman with child. And we need to understand that word woman is the Greek word gastor, which means it's G1064, a woman with child, someone who is pregnant. And this is referencing the woman in Revelation 12:1, who is pregnant, who's going to give a birth to the child. And I won't go through all of the allegory, but again, we've got a birthing that is happening at the midpoint that has to do with Israel, and also has to do with the persecution of Judah, persecution of Israel, and persecution of those who are still here, who still hold the testimony of Jesus, as Revelation 12 pulls out. So we get some markers there from the New Testament that we should be looking for how this fruition of the birth pangs come about throughout the last 7 years, getting stronger as we go, and with the completion thereof of the wrath bowls where 100% would be destroyed. So now let's go back and understand what the Old Testament tells us about the beginning of sorrows, the birth pangs. And in the Old Testament, sorrows comes from 2256, Hebrew word chevel, and it essentially means pain and pangs. So it's in the same identical sort of definition in terms of how it needs to be applied for understanding the prophetic allegory in the Old Testament as it was used in the Greek. And you would expect that because Jesus chooses words perfectly, because he is the spirit of prophecy. He is the word of God. And just as he chose the words accurately with the days of Noah and the fig tree generation, he chose the words accurately with the chronology, with words like then, that comes from Greek tot, and then, thereafter, at that time. He presents the chronology. You just have to listen to what Jesus says, not what other people say that Jesus says. Be a Berean, be a contrarian, verify things for yourself. And we get these birth pangs and sorrows that are used, like as in Isaiah 7, where it's pain, where it's not a prophetic allegory for the end time, and also an example of the birth pangs being used in terms of sorrows in the application and the wording that comes in Isaiah 26:17 and Jeremiah 22:23. And again in Hosea 13:13, where you have the pain and the travail and the birth pangs coming on Ephraim in the time of their destruction. And so we get that as sort of a definition in terms of some passages in what the word means in Hebrew, so that when we see that term comes up in prophetic allegory in the Old Testament, we'll know perhaps how to apply that definition and not the other definitions that might come with Chabel. And so in Jeremiah 13:21 and 49:24, we get some application in terms of the allegory, not prophetic at this point, but just to show you the consistency of how it's used in terms of the punishment and the sorrows that overtake, like as in a woman. And that's consistent as what happens in Hosea 13:13, like a woman in travail. And again, as we start to move that understanding of those words that are going to be used in the Old Testament, we need to understand sorrows, travail, and birth pangs. And they're all going to be used in the English translations and go back to the similar type of meaning as sorrow, so that there is no misunderstanding. It's like built-in redundancy not to miss the connections, as well as the chronological timing that's going on. So in Isaiah 13:8, you have pangs and sorrows that take hold as the travail of a woman. And when is this? This is the time of of Babylon. This is the time of the destruction of Babylon when this starts to take hold, just as what we're talking about with the New Testament passage in the time of 1 Thessalonians 5:3 and 9. And in Revelation 17, after Antichrist takes power, you have Antichrist receiving power from the 10 kings, and then they destroy Babylon. So we have a midpoint shortly thereafter to structure that gives us a marker and a timing. And this is also identifying as the days of the Lord are coming. This is the time of the end. So we get that sort of marker as well. And I look at Isaiah 13:8, where it's got the satyrs and all of these sort of beast-like creatures as being similar to Isaiah 34, but Isaiah 34 is in the day of the Lord. So this happens just before. And that's why you get the groupings of those very interesting creatures that are in there that I don't have time to talk about today, but maybe I'll go through it in a show down the road. So we need to understand that this is giving us the when in terms of the chronology of when the birthing is going to be complete, when Jesus comes. And then what happens shortly after, and then when nobody escapes. And so when we look at the word travail in the Old Testament, that's the Hebrew word yalad, and it means beget, birth, bring forth children. And so we have another word that's travail that's going to be used alongside of sorrows, alongside of pangs in Old Testament prophecies about the end time that fits perfectly with the New Testament and perfectly with sorrows in terms of the meaning, the allegory, and the timing. And so in Jeremiah 13:21 and Isaiah 13:8, we have this coming about in the last 3.5 years when the travail of a woman is overtaken.
Advance. It's worth shaping out why I'm live.
And cold, nettles, and
For definition, if you're still not convinced about the allegory of this in terms of its original meaning and how it applies here, if you go to Genesis 38:27, you understand that the time of the birth is the time of travail, the time of sorrow. So again, we get over and over and over, and there's many more passages, but I just want to make sure that people understand the time zone that we're talking about here. And now we're going to bring it to a little bit more perfect sort of in understanding as what we talked about in terms of the destruction of Babylon and the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is coming at the midpoint after the end of the seventh trumpet and the days of the seventh trumpet. So there's an overlap of the trumpet the last 3.5 years of a short period of time. And in Jeremiah 50:43, this is the time of the destruction of the Old Testament accounting of Revelation 17 of the destruction of Babylon. When the travail destruction of Babylon overtakes Babylon. So we have the same allegory. And these are the pangs, as in travail, that are going on. And pangs is defined as, and it's the Hebrew word Shili, which means pangs and or the birth of a child. And so again, we've got Jesus coming not only for rapture, but also at the time of the destruction of Babylon, and he's going to come for second Exodus at the time that will follow rapture, in the time of the year of the Lord's favor. So you have Babylon's destruction, you have rapture, because people have to come out of Babylon, as Revelation 18 talks about. And so there's that sort of last calling. And we get the destruction of Babylon not only in Revelation 17 and 18, but we get its chronology that's in Revelation 14 after the first fruits are taken out. And we get a summary of the last 3.5 years that begins with the destruction of Babylon and the mark of the beast. So again, we get this timing that is fitting absolutely perfectly. And so we understand Babylon destruction, we understand rapture is coming, and then there's second Exodus. That is also sort of referenced in Revelation 12 that we talked about in terms of the woman and Judah escaping to the wilderness. There's going to be a Exodus of Israel to meet and visible Judah around the world, an Exodus of awakened Israel, an Exodus of visible Judah around the world to meet those who, at the time of the abomination, the midpoint of the last 7 years, ran for safety to the wilderness and are protected by God for 3.5 years. So again, the timing is really, really important. And then Micah 4:9, as we look at bringing this together with second Exodus, you have the birth pangs that overtake as a woman in travail just before second Exodus happens in Micah 5. And so that Micah 4 is leading into Micah 5. And in Micah 5:7 and Micah 2:12 and 13, you are getting the breaker that comes, which is Jesus, who frees the people from the year of the Lord's favor, from the prisons, and he's going to lead them, as Micah 5 and Micah 2:12, 13 talk about, with their king and their Lord at their head in the second time, when Israel is lost and dispersed around the world and have awakened and have accepted the one that they pierced. This includes Judah then in that second Exodus, because now it's time to bring them back into the covenant. This is the timing of Ezekiel 37, with another event of a resurrection of Israel to go under the judgment. And you also have thereafter, in about the teens in Ezekiel 37 and 28 verses, you have the second Exodus, just as in Ezekiel 39, after the Gog War, which happens just before the midpoint. You have the Exodus being described after the Gog War. So everything's working in perfect harmony. And in 5:3, where we get a prophecy of the second Exodus, it says that she that travaileth has brought forward the remnant that shall return. And so you get the beginning of sorrows coming into completion with Jesus' coming. After
I'm here, baby, if you're talking about me.
Babylon is destroyed, after rapture, and then for second Exodus. And I just can't imagine how one can sort of describe what it would have taken to try and layer all of this prophetic allegory and timing in so many dispersed verses if it wasn't done intentionally and in perfection by the Word of God, as the Word coming down through not only Jesus, but the prophets who are living at all different periods and having all of the allegory and the timing always matching perfectly. But it begins with putting everything around what Jesus said first. And so the Old Testament is providing us additional time markers for the last 3.5 years. That includes the destruction of Babylon, that includes the time of second Exodus, and also for the day of the Lord, which is the wrath bowls, where 100% destruction is coming about. So as we look forward as to how we see that happening today, we have obviously pestilence that's happening in ever increasing ways. There's more famine going on in the world than what most is recorded, but it's still light, just as this is a light pestilence, and it's going to get worse. And you've got more earthquakes going on. And you've got wars and rumors of war that are just sort of starting up. And I think you're going to see the players come into play for the 10 kings as you see China with Xi and Putin moving into place, and will be probably causing some of these wars and rumors of wars that will bring on more pestilence and more famine moving forward, and beginning to work together in terms of these birth pangs that are quickening and will get stronger as they go. So we may get over the hump of the current period, but then there's a more stronger pain coming, and we need to be prepared for that. We need to be prepared to understand the chronology of how that comes together until we get the opening of the seals. And that is still only 25%. The trumpets are 33%. And so those are the same calamities.
Yeah, I wonder what my name will be. I was never here.
That will ultimately complete with the wrath bowls when Jesus comes and nobody escapes. And so the completion of the beginning of the sorrows begins with Jesus' coming, as he promised his disciples, as he gave them the chronology. It will come first after people have come out, including Judah, including Israel, and including Christians have come out of Babylon, and you'll have rapture. And then you will have the second Exodus in the year of the Lord's favor. And then you will have the completion for the birth pain and birth pain allegory with Armageddon. And so I'm hoping I was able to explain this in a manner that made sense to you. And if we
Okay, guys, I'm bailing. See you tomorrow. God bless.
Understand the larger context to the allegory, and we look at how other passages support that allegory, we can have a higher degree of assurance that we're getting the chronology